everybody. How are you today?
Wow, that good.
That good on a Friday?
A Sunday afternoon.
Oops, I almost told him when we were doing
Jordan McCaw.
And this is Micah McCaw.
And you're listening to the McCaw Podcast Universe.
Yes, you are.
And what do we do here?
Well, we exist for one simple reason, to prove people wrong.
When they say
that sequels
are never better than the originals.
Yes, and we are going back to a series we covered, I believe, in our second year. We had hit Harry Potter, so we were in that YA realm. Then I think we did Twilight.
Oh, yeah, and then we finished it off with Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, yes. And
a little recap.
Yeah.
For you and me, we had never read the books, never got into the books.
Yeah.
And I think barely saw the movies, maybe one or two.
I had seen the first one was the only one I'd seen.
Yeah, so it was a very nothing series to me. Have no attachment to it, and I would still say that's the case.
Yeah, I think from my memory, and I didn't go back and listen to our episodes, but what I remember is being like Hunger Games 1, fine. Hunger Games 2, really good. Hunger Games 3, yikes. Hunger Games 4, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
So it became like I don't really like the Hunger Games. It's kind of how
I don't care for it. And I would never rewatch it. And
yeah.
It's not because I didn't grow up with it. It's not a series like some other ones that's like, can't wait to show my kids.
Yeah, I'm more indifferent than anything else.
Yeah, me too. So when they announced that when they announced a prequel was coming out book-wise.
Yeah.
It was like, whatever. I don't care. I mean, I never read the books anyway. This isn't for me. And then, of course, they announced that they're making a movie, and it's like, oh, well, that's why they wrote the book, or Suzanne Collins wrote the book. It's all just money grab. That's just all I hear is cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Well, and let me walk through while you go through your thoughts, because let's not give it all away yet. So Suzanne Collins writes this book. It comes out in 2020, and I'll just say this: it was generally positive reviews on the books.
Okay.
But for me, so if I can interject here, this felt a little bit like, I mean, I'm not the most plugged into the book world, particularly YA people. But I'm thinking, maybe she hasn't had a hit in a while and she just needs a hit. Wants to buy a second house. I don't know if that's how it works
in the book world. But again, I'm not a New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah, I mean, the Hunger Games books were like
massive.
It was like Twilight, then the Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, which is funny enough how we covered it because the movies also followed that pattern as well.
Yeah.
Although Hunger Games might have beat Twilight into theaters. I can't remember. I don't remember when that first one
then
came
you have
out.
Divergent writing on the coattails of everyone else.
Yeah. No, I think it was that order for the movies too. But anyway, all that to say, so I'm like, okay, that's kind of, it felt a little bit like, which I think we'll be drawing this comparison throughout this episode, J.K. Rowling being like, hey guys, I've had all these books that people don't really like after Harry Potter. Guess what? We're making Fantastic Beasts movies, and I'm basically running them.
And then she continues to dig herself into the deepest grave anyone's ever seen on social media. And her reputation, no one cares anymore.
Right.
Not just because the movies are bad, but with this book, because it came out in 2020, and I'm sure this isn't the case because it takes years to write, edit, publish a book. But it's like we're in the middle of the pandemic and she's had nothing else to do. So it's like, I guess let's see what that Snow guy's up to.
Yeah.
I got a prequel idea. What the heck?
And classically, as we've covered in this podcast, we've had very few movies that we've covered, if any, where the prequels have even met the bar of good. Well,
here's the thing, Micah. We're a show that exists to prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals. We're not here to talk about, to try and prove anything about prequels, because generally they're stupid and dumb and bad and poorly written and just dollar signs.
Have we ever covered a prequel movie that is just good? I'm saying strictly like meets that format. Because the Hobbit movies are not good.
No.
The Star Wars prequels are not good.
No.
Those are the only ones that are coming to
mind. Harry Potter ones are not good.
The Harry Potter ones are worse than I think all those movies we mentioned. And yes, I'm talking about Attack of the Clones. It's worse than Attack of the Clones.
Oh my gosh. I would so much rather watch Attack of the Clones. At least it's entertaining.
Right, yeah. A little boring, though.
Well, yeah, it is a little boring. Already, like we've said, I already have rose-colored glasses about those again.
I know, me too. Yeah, so I think the prequel thing is really, really hard to do. And you kind of hope, although this is a bit of a different situation, but I think of Stephen King, I think our favorite author. And, well, I know that. That's our favorite author. We both love him so much. I
didn't know it was your favorite author.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's so good. Books, I feel like, can pull off prequels a little bit better sometimes.
I don't know.
Because, like, Orson Scott Card has written a lot of prequel stuff.
And maybe part of that is, like, because it's a book, there's room to breathe.
Yeah.
A little bit more than in a movie.
Well, I don't know. And I think a lot of movies fall into this really desperate trap of being like if they had a successful Enders series, for example.
Yeah.
I think if they made a sequel, they would be a prequel, they would be so desperate to like set up like, and this boy is going to be born later. This boy, he won't be beginner. He'll be maybe an ender or so, you know, do stuff like that where you're like, oh my gosh, shut up.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like why did Anakin build C-3PO? Oh yeah. And then later he has to wipe his memory. So any of this makes sense. It's all that weird stuff.
Yeah.
So you'd hope this is a book series first, that she would have a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And back to Stephen King, I think of like the sequel to The Shining,
or the
Dr.
prequel.
Sleep.
Oh, sequel. It is a sequel.
Yeah. and it's one of those things where you hear, oh, he's making Dr. Sleep. It's like, he is in his later years. Does he need a hit? And then you read it and you go, there's an actual story here.
Well, then you also know about him that he's not going to write anything he's not interested in.
I'm talking just purely cynical.
I know.
It's
just like you do know that about him, though.
Yes.
I don't know that about Suzanne Collins.
Right. But you just would hope, like, okay, maybe Suzanne Collins, like, actually does have a good idea.
Yeah.
That is worth writing about.
Yeah. For me,
where we're at.
This movie had so much going against it going into it.
Absolutely.
One, I mean, so because it's a prequel, so I think, I hear it's like the beginning of the Hunger Games. I thought it was about the first Hunger Games.
Oh, okay.
So find out it's like the 10th one, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty new. And I just thought, like, what is the point of having this movie when we know it's not, like, it has to have a bad ending? Because
it doesn't end the Hunger Games or anything like that.
By the time we get to Katniss, it's like at the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
So that she can rise up and do her whole revolution thing. So the issue so easily to get caught in, which is the Harry Potter thing, is and the Hobbit, they're trying to make it as epic as Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. And it's like you can just keep it its small little prequel thing that it is. Just have Newt Scamander going around getting creatures. That's really all you needed the whole time.
Right.
We didn't
Lower
need this
stakes.
Grindelwald BS.
Yeah.
But it's like it's like we can't help ourselves.
Right.
Or studios or something can't help themselves. So that's all I'm thinking about going into this movie is so that at a certain point it's like, okay, so it's about Donald Sutherland's character. Why do I care?
Right.
And again, didn't read the books, any of them.
Well, and then so the book comes out and in 2017, John Feltheimer, who is the CEO of Lionsgate, he's like, he wants to do spinoffs to Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but we're only going to go forward if, and he's talking about Twilight and Hunger Games. He's like, we'll only go forward if Stephenie Meyer and Suzanne Collins are behind us. They're not just going to like greenlight these and go.
Okay.
And then in 2019, before the book comes out, they're like, we're going to adapt this. And then 2020, they're like, we are doing this for sure. So
where's the Twilight movie? We had that book come out written from Edward's perspective.
I know. I would.
Is it? Why don't we have it? That makes no sense.
I would love to see it in a like peeking between my fingers kind of way.
I know, me too.
I would like to see
I wonder if Stephenie Meyer was like expressly stated, like, I do not care. I do not want this.
Or maybe they've been trying to adapt it and they just don't have like a hook yet.
That's probably more that.
Because I mean, if you're a CEO and you're seeing how this year like Marvel is kind of showing some cracks in its foundation, and people aren't like just showing up because of brand like recognition, you are thinking like, okay, like if we're gonna make a Twilight movie, it has to be a good movie. We just can't like
franchise wise.
Yeah, it just can't be something we're gonna just show up for no reason.
Maybe the studios are so pissed that she just wrote the same novel. And they're like, we can't adapt this.
Yeah. So, all that to say, this trailer comes out earlier this year. And I kind of, even more so than movies I want to see, I like to watch trailers to movies I don't want to see because it's kind of fun to be like, oh boy, here we go. And whereas a movie I want to see, it's like, well, I already want to see it. I don't really need to see the trailer.
Yeah.
So I watched a trailer for this, fully expecting to guffaw and roll my eyes. And I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that were said and certain things that were happening. And the actors that were in it, I was like, Peter Dinklage, Viola Davis? Like, they kind of got some
Viola
heaters.
Davis?
Viola Davis? Oh, yeah. Whoops.
I think you've said that before.
Yeah, I think it's one of those words that I just pronounce differently because it is an instrument as well. Yeah. So I just say viola.
Oh, is that how the instrument is pronounced?
Viola. Yeah, I think viola is the instrument. And then viola.
Have I ever heard anyone say her name besides what's said in my head?
No, I think you're right because I've heard other people say that. Unless it's just you and we're stuck in an echo chamber. But I'm just seeing this trailer and I'm like, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And they're kind of setting up something that has potential.
Yeah.
Especially when you're expecting to fully dislike something. And then you're seeing Jason Schwartzman and it's like, he kind of only does stuff that he wants to do.
Yeah.
He is like an indie darling. So
he's a Coppola. He gets to pick and choose.
Yeah. And it's like he that's not to say all of his work is always great.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it is a qualifier of like, well, there's probably artistic merit to this thing, even if I don't like it. That's how I view him.
Because I remember leading up to you're like, but Jason Schwartzman's in it. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't want to like this movie.
Yeah.
Admittedly, wanted to go into it being like, let me just sit through the slog when I could just be spending time with my baby.
Right.
I did not care about this. And
then we're coming up on it. And it's like, yeah, with the baby, we have to really set aside time.
And we've had to catch up. So like we're catching up / also like we saw Marvels recently. The Marvels. And it was like, yeah, it actually wasn't as bad as we thought, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it was still just like, there were a lot of issues. There were a lot of cracks in that
Listen to last week's episode.
Yeah. So then it's like a week later, and it's like, we got to do this again?
Right.
Yeah. And this one's an hour longer.
Yeah, this movie's really long.
Yeah.
And so we start watching...
but then...
Okay, yeah.
Leading up to it, too, you had heard critically that it was getting some good buzz.
I was doing some good buzz, and then also like I'm pretty sure the Metascore for this is like 53 or something.
Okay.
Which is not the best, but I kind of thought David Ehrlich, who is
52.
David Ehrlich, who is a critic I've mentioned many times on this podcast, would love someday to have him on. I can just never find his email online. He can be like a lot harsher than I would be on a movie.
Yeah.
Particularly blockbusters, which, you know what? Blockbusters, it's okay to be really harsh on them. I think. Like, they kind of, they need to be really good.
Yeah.
And so he is the kind of guy that gave Endgame, a movie that I think is pretty perfect. He gave it 3.5 stars and was like, this is a good movie. It was good. And usually with Marvel, he's doing like 2 stars or 2.5, and I like a lot of the movies that he thinks are just okay. And so he puts out his review on Letterboxd and IndieWire, and he gives this movie 3.5 stars. And I'm like, what? That's kind of bonkers.
Yeah, out of 5.
Yeah, because this has like everything stacked against it. I look at his other Hunger Games things. I don't think he rated any of the other movies above 2.5 stars.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then that kind of makes me think, like, him of all people, I'm like, if he thinks this is good, it's probably a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
So then we go to the movie, and we're sitting there, and it's the kind of thing where I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, we got to see this. I'm almost embarrassed that we're at a Hunger Games movie. It's like, YA, I'm an adult. I'm a big boy. I go to Spider-Man movies.
We didn't read this book in high school.
Yeah.
We avoided it.
And as the minutes tick by, I'm like, I don't have any problems with this.
Well, yeah,
this is a pretty good setup.
Pretty early on, it's like, this movie looks good.
It looks really good.
They're talking about some pretty interesting things.
Yeah.
Oh, the Hunger Games aren't doing well, and they need to figure out how to make it good.
Yeah, you start doing less technical things, and you start
characters pretty complicated.
Yeah, you start out being like, this looks pretty good. This script is doing okay, and then you start being like, man, how's Lucy Gray gonna get out of this? I don't know what's,
I genuinely don't know what's coming next.
And
the people sitting next to me were very heavily invested.
Yeah.
I will say, although the girl was on her phone a few times.
Yeah, I did see that.
She will not go unnoticed with that. But there was a lot of
I heard that.
A lot of just like really riveted.
And I don't remember which point, but there was someone at one point sitting next to me who was like, "Oh shit!" like during like a reveal of some sort, and I'm like, "Whoa, okay, he's really into this." And what
then, trailer that played that he was like, "Nah."
Oh nope. Gosh, what was it?
Was it Argyle? No, I think it was one before. It might have been the David Leitch movie.
No, it wasn't that. It was something like.
It might have been Mean Girls.
I think it was Mean Girls,
and he's just chomping on his popcorn. Nope.
Which I agree.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect on the first.
Even though it's a new twist from Tina Fey,
the person who wrote the last movie. Mean Girls, the original, awesome.
Yeah.
So don't get me confused there. But yeah, pretty soon into this movie, I was pretty locked into it, and I never got off the train on this thing.
I sort of did at a certain point, but we'll get to it. But this movie is better than all of the other ones, in my opinion.
I think like pretty
exponentially,
easily.
I liked it so much more.
I mean, the second movie is pretty good.
It's been a while since we've seen them.
Yeah.
Any of them, including the second one. And I do remember that one being pretty crazy.
But this one was like...
This one was really good.
There was like genuine like pathos to like the characters. And by the end of it, I was like, this guy who is playing Snow is throwing heaters, man. He is just like killing
really good. And because
like
of the...
Star Maker performance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because of the... and then when I did a quick glance at his filmography last night, and it's like, I think this will be huge for him based on what he's been in.
He's been on some like indie hits, but that's about it.
Also, but he's been in big things, but as like the boy, blah, blah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Because of the nature of where the Hunger Games are at in this story, it feels way more violent.
It really did.
Than the other ones.
Well, and it didn't have, like, I felt like all of the other movies had this element of, like, they would be really cool and really good, and then there'd be, like, weird genetic dogs or something, like, and they do actually do that.
Which is sci-fi.
Yeah, they do something like that in this movie, but in a way that felt far less, like, world-breaking.
Sure.
Because in the other movie, remember, there's, like, cat people that live in this world.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, what?
I'm sure people who read the books... Maybe even in the books, people don't like it.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to them in the movies, it's like, you should have just completely cut out.
Yeah.
That, whatever that's going on there.
Right.
Because it was so distracting and so dumb.
Right.
In an already bad movie.
Yeah. And this movie does something else, which hardly any prequel does. I pretty much forgot everything that happens in the other movies, and it did not limit my enjoyment of this movie at all.
Not even close.
You could see this movie and not have seen the other movies, and it works as a functioning movie, which is like that's like the Star Wars problem.
Yeah,
those movies would be like 60% better if it wasn't like, well, you have to have seen the other movies for a lot of this to make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the biggest reason, I think a huge reason is because there was a focus, and I'm sure the books like this too. It's like because it's about a character.
Yeah.
It's not about the Hunger Games.
Well, and they also did something which is, I guess, no, it's not a spoiler because if you've seen the other Hunger Games, they did something that I was concerned about, which is an easy trap to fall in. You're making a prequel about a character who is like evil later, but he's supposed to be our protagonist. Mm-hmm. So the temptation is, I think, anytime is to make that person a hero and a good guy. And then by the end of the movie, they either like just don't deal with that, or they just like quickly make him bad for kind of no reason to set up the other movies. And in this movie, it was just like kind of a character study of like the moral grays of what is good and what's evil. And by the end, you're like, yeah, it doesn't seem like this is a different character than what he is in the movies later.
Yeah.
And so that, like, I kind of figured they wouldn't be able to do that. And they totally did.
Yeah, they nailed it. They did a great job.
So should we talk about...
And this is the guy that made the last 3?
Yeah. He made all but the original Hunger Games movie.
Wow. Because those last 2 were so bad.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about. There's some stuff about that. Sorry, but go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
Speaking of, though, this is directed by Francis Lawrence, who did... just to back up, he did the 3 Hunger Games after Hunger Games 1, and then he did after that he did Red Sparrow, and then he did a Netflix movie, Slumberland, and then he did this.
Did you ever watch Red Sparrow?
I did not.
It looked boring.
It did look boring, and I think that's all I heard about it.
Yeah.
The screenplay is by Michael Leslie, who, get ready with IMDb because I want to blow your mind a little bit. He did. He's a playwright and screenwriter, and he did the Fassbender Macbeth.
How do you spell Leslie?
No, I'm going to tell you something to look up.
Oh.
He did the Michael Fassbender Macbeth. He did the original screenplay on Assassin's Creed, and then he did a show called The Little Drummer Girl that I would like you to look up, and I just want you to read about it and react in real time to what this is.
2018 TV miniseries.
Yeah.
As a Palestinian assassin is targeting prominent Israelis, a young English actress is recruited by Mossad to infiltrate the assassin's terrorist cell, requiring all of her acting talents, but also putting her at considerable risk.
Okay. So who's involved in the making of this?
Who's involved? Park Chan-wook.
I knew you'd have it.
Okay.
He directed it.
So are we watching this?
Yeah, what's the rating on it, actually? I don't know.
7.4.
Okay. But yeah, it's got Florence Pugh and Alexander Skarsgård.
Michael Shannon.
Yeah. Is that not kind of nuts?
That is nuts.
And he directed, I think, every episode of it.
Oh. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to catch that on Mike.
Yeah.
The other screenwriter on this movie is Michael Arndt, who we've talked about in Toy Story 3 and Force Awakens. And as a reminder, he got recognition when he wrote Little Miss Sunshine. The cinematography is Joe Williams, and he did the Hunger Games 2 and on, and he's been the cinematographer for Francis Lawrence.
Great job, man.
Yeah.
And I won't say what it is, but the last shot of the movie, when it was all, the music swelling and it's all building up, I was like, do it. And the last shot, I was like, good. They did it. And
I don't remember, but
it's not a spoiler, but
yeah, no. We'll save it for the spoiler section.
But it was just like, end on it.
Yeah.
And they did, and it was like awesome.
Yeah, it was cool because it really felt like Francis, the director, like matured a lot.
Yeah.
Because it still felt like the Hunger Games movie, but I just feel like this was shot so much more interestingly without like breaking the language we already know from these movies.
Yeah. I mean, for blockbusters, I mean, it sucks because I think we've all I think we're now kind of pushing back as the general audience because the franchise is not doing as well.
Yeah.
But whenever there's like an interesting way something is shot, it's immediately like, oh, this movie's good. This movie's like really good. So like even the scene when him and her are talking and she's in the like zoo exhibit,
yeah, that was so
and
weird.
the way that they shot it with, the bars are in the middle.
Yeah.
And her face and his face. It's like, even that's so simple.
Yeah.
But it was like, this is so interesting.
It really, really was.
Yeah.
And then the music is James Newton Howard, who we've talked about many times.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt great. I didn't realize he did the score, but the whole movie, I'm like, man, the score is
really
awesome.
good.
And then when you find out it's him, it's like, oh, duh.
Is he the one who did Unbreakable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a big M. Night guy, and he also did Dark Knight and Batman Begins with Hans Zimmer.
Okay.
Amongst many other scores.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the household names.
Yeah.
This movie has a $100 million budget.
Okay.
Which is great because we talked about this with Marvel. Their budgets are getting too big. $100 million, that's great.
Yeah.
I think the movie, as of this recording, which is before opening weekend is over, worldwide, it's already made like $98 million.
Awesome.
So in like 3 weeks, this thing is profit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they shot most of this movie, if not all, in Poland and Berlin.
Okay.
Which I think gives it a really nice feel.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting even thematically.
Yeah. Then here's some stuff from some interviews with Francis Lawrence leading up to this movie. He talks about how when he was looking at the book, He's like, this is it's like a 500+ page book.
I believe that.
And he's
Long
like,
movie.
the natural reaction is like, this should be split into 2. But he says this, what I realized in retrospect in regards to Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, and after hearing all the reactions and feeling the kind of wrath of fans, critics, and people at the split, is that I realized it was frustrating, and I can understand that. He continued, in an episode of television, if you have a cliffhanger, you have to wait a week, or you could just binge it, and then you can see the next episodes. But making people wait a year, I think, came across as disingenuous, even though it wasn't. I would never let them split the book in 2, said Lawrence of the new movie. It's a long book, but we got so much shit for splitting Mockingjay into 2 from fans, from critics, from everybody, that I was like, no way, I'll just make a longer movie.
Well, good for you.
So he just kind of took the stand.
Yeah.
Micah's getting cussy on this episode.
I know. Put a big E on this.
I know, but I'm quoting, okay?
Okay. You did quote that other person, too.
Eden boys, I'm still naive, sweet little Micah. And then I wanted to point out this. Music is a big part of this movie, beyond the music of... There's in-world music.
Mm-hmm.
And
diegetic?
Yeah.
Okay.
But even so, it's like it's being performed.
Yeah, it's part of the story.
Yeah, and so we have the music producer, 9-time Grammy Award-winning producer, Dave Cobb, made the music for this movie. And he's worked with Sturgill Simpson and Brandi Carlile, and he contributed to the Star is Born soundtrack as well. So he's very...
good at his job?
Yeah. And so there's this variety piece that I just saw. I found it extremely interesting. I think you will too, but I'm just going to read some of it. So he was guided by the folksy mountain music one would expect from Appalachia, but Cobb wasn't allergic to more unconventional influences as well. There's a lot of the Smiths in there, he reveals. I figure by the time we got to the future, the characters probably heard this stuff. It's definitely a melting pot. We tried to stick to those very traditional roots, but there's a lot of curveballs. Inspired by Alan Lomax, the late musician known for his field recording of music across Scotland and Ireland, Cobb's team recorded the film's music in a remote 250-year-old house located in Savannah, Georgia. We mic'd the walls, and obviously the wood sounds different because it's nearly petrified, he explains. I wanted to have this real authenticity to match the recordings we were influenced by, and you can feel that super southern dystopia. Cobb, who previously composed music for A Star is Born, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and Elvis, is eager to orchestrate another fictional environment next. If somebody says, write a song about yourself, I think that's incredibly constraining in a way, he explains. But it's like, go write a song about the futuristic dystopian Appalachia. This is fun. I can't wait to do more of it. That's really my love right now.
Nice.
So I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. 30 minutes on the dot.
And she's awake?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just finish this last thing if we can. I had no idea, because we haven't rewatched the movies in a long time, but the song The Hanging Tree is sung in Mockingjay Part 1.
Yeah, I remember that.
By Jennifer Lawrence.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay. So, yeah.
Cool.
Let's get into the actors.
Shoot. Actors.
Yeah, yes, actors.
So, you know what I realized when I was looking at actors?
What did you realize?
I mean, it's been happening for a couple years now, but Micah...
What?
We're old.
Okay.
All these actors are younger than us these days.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I wish that it didn't hurt as much as it did.
Yeah.
Because being younger, liking a movie, watching a movie, looking up people because you're interested in it and everything, and you see like, oh, they're 25, oh, they're 30, oh, they're 35. I'm not even close to that. I got so far to go to get there.
Yeah.
But then you have people who were born in 2001.
Oh.
Can
I sidebar for a second?
Yeah.
Now that you're mentioning this, for one, I always found it strange when I worked at Rogue Air Trampoline Park, and I worked with people who didn't remember 9/11.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
Okay, I don't understand that. I still don't really get that, even though we're raising a child who is looking up intently, and she should be asleep.
Refusing to sleep.
Refusing. So. Then the other thing I want to say is, for those who don't know, my birthday is December 22nd. Okay. And, you can, you're free to send stuff. You're free to sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/Micah McCoggett.
Send Micah some aspirin. He's turning 30 and he feels it.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm turning 30. And, so I played a show with Jeremy Oliveira on November 3rd. And I haven't been playing a lot of live well, I've been trying to get back into live more, but it's still kind of tough to get out there. And we played this show. I played guitar for him, and the next day I was so sore. Like, I could not believe how sore I was. And I was like, it happened. Like, I am 30 years old.
You need to stretch before shows these days.
I do a little bit, but maybe I should be even more intentional. And then what was it today? We got our Costco membership, and we shopped for just a second. We were just picking up some baby wipes and going to the gas station and stuff. And when we checked out, we spent $100, and I was happy about it and kind of giddy. And I thought, I am so officially 30, it's sickening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm handling it well, but I am a little bit like, this kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could take over while I close this door, because Gilmore opened it.
Yeah.
And I can hear the heater.
I agree with you, man. It does suck. Getting into some actors. To start us off, Rachel Zegler plays Lucy Gray Baird. She born in 2001.
You don't have to talk about her.
What have we covered her in?
Shazam! Fury of the Gods earlier this year.
Right. Cool. Tom Blythe plays Coriolanus Snow. I think we talked about this in the other Hunger Game movies, but just knock it off with the names.
I know.
You've got to knock it off with them. It's ridiculous.
I think one of them is, I think some of the names are like Roman though, which is kind of interesting, but I think it's kind of weird to have Coriolanus Snow and then Lucy Gray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on.
Which I guess, she's from District 12. They're from the Appalachian. It's just a little bit simpler over there. But yeah, knock it off. The one character's name is Sir James, and the whole time I thought they were saying, Sir James.
Yeah.
Janus. And I thought they were saying Sir Janus the whole movie until I saw it spelled. And I was like, really?
I know.
That's that guy's name?
Yeah.
Gosh. Tom Blythe, though, he plays Coriolanus, our main character. He is in the show Billy the Kid.
Oh, finally, they made a show.
He is Billy the Kid.
Okay.
William H. Bonney. Sorry. That show is like this year.
Okay.
Or 2022 is when it started. So MGM Plus got him early. He's also
MGM Plus. It's on this. There is an MGM Plus. I don't even think I knew that.
No one's watching it. Trust me.
We got to stop with having all these different streamers.
Yeah.
The streaming wars are over.
He's in The Gilded Age.
Isn't that a sexy show? Isn't that one of those?
It's a Regency romance. I don't know if it's sexy. I'm not watching it.
Isn't that what those mean though? Regency romance, isn't that?
No, it's just high. I mean, I don't know. I think Bridgerton's pretty sexy, but it's like high society Victorian era.
Okay, it doesn't have to be racy. I don't
know. I don't watch it. Why are you asking me?
Well, I just thought like Bridgerton was like racy.
Well, apparently that's what I've heard about Bridgerton. I don't know about The Gilded Age because I think Downton Abbey also falls under this, even though it's much later.
Oh, okay.
Is that Regency? I don't know. Don't care. Bored even thinking about it. He's in Benediction, Robin Hood, the Russell Crowe one.
We all remember Ridley Scott's, that.
So he's been around for kind of a while-ish, but this totally is like breakout.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we've talked about Viola Davis.
Yeah.
We also have Fionnuala Flanagan, who plays the grandma.
Okay. Wait, so you're not saying her character name?
Grandmam is her character
name.
name.
But I mean, read her name and tell me.
That was her name, Fionnuala.
Yeah, that sounds like she is in the Hunger Games for real.
She's in The Others, Waking Ned Devine, The Guard, Four Brothers. I don't know.
Yeah, you remember when they had to wake Ned Devine?
Hunter Schafer plays Tigress, his cousin.
Yeah.
She's in Euphoria. I think that's her big thing.
Okay.
As well as Belle.
Euphoria, me-phoria.
Euphoria, no-phoria. I'm just kidding. I've heard it's a great show.
It doesn't seem like our cup of tea, though. It seems a little too intense.
I don't think I can emotionally handle what I've heard about that show.
And it also, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything from it, but it seems like the kind of show that would maybe, like, I'd watch and I'd be like, can there be any lightness to this, you know?
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
And I'm not a fan of things that are like only dark.
And then
there's humor in life, even when things are crazy.
They're all children, so it's like I don't know, not something for me, and that's okay. Wow, never mind. Okay, so John Andres Rivera plays Sejanus. He is in West Side Story.
Yes,
and I saw that him and Rachel Zegler are a couple
in real life.
Oh,
RL. RL, yeah.
He's also in Cat Person.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Okay.
Who else is important?
You haven't talked about
Peter Dinklage.
A big one.
Peter Dinklage?
Jason Schwartzman.
Have we talked about Peter Dinklage before?
We probably did in Infinity War.
Oh, okay. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman.
You got to take it. This is your guy. You're such a Schwartz head.
Yeah, I love Jason Schwartzman. He's one of my faves. Some of the best hair in Hollywood.
Great hair.
He's got great hair.
Yeah.
He's got a great face. He's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Rushmore. That's my fave, Wes Anderson. He is, as mentioned before, a Coppola. Married. His mom is who we named. Well, we didn't name Talia after her, but we saw her name roll across the credits on The Godfather, and we were like, I like that a lot.
Yeah. His mom is Talia Shire, otherwise known as Adrian from Rocky.
Yes, sister of Francis Ford.
Yes.
And yeah, he most recently was in this movie, but Asteroid City. He's a big Wes Anderson guy.
He's had a big year.
He's in Bored to Death, the show where he stars in. He has had a big year.
Because he's in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yes, and
Good for him.
He's in Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
He's in a really funny Tim and Eric bedtime stories.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Really just off-putting funny.
Yeah.
Which is all of bedtime stories.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, he's having a great year.
Yeah.
I'd be lucky to be him.
Me too.
And imagine all that wine your grandpa would give you. Or your uncle.
Uncle. That's kind of like the heavy hitters.
Yeah, no, that's
Don't
great.
Need to get into every like contestant.
So let me hit you with this right off the bat.
Yeah.
Before we get into the plot. The cast of this movie is so dialed into this movie, and it is like leaps and bounds better acting than the last movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I pulled up a clip of her singing
Hanging Tree,
The Hanging Tree, I saw Liam Hemsworth, and I was like, oh yeah.
Well, no one's convinced with him.
No, but I'm saying like Josh Hutcherson is in this.
Yeah.
And Liam Hemsworth were like very YA, like heartthrob guys.
Finger on the pulse when the movies came out.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Jennifer Lawrence, of course, is great.
And I wonder if you have read the books, like, so with this one coming out, this one feels more mature, the book.
Sure.
Because the movie feels more mature than the other ones.
But it's like they're still getting young people.
Yeah.
But it just felt like everyone was way more dialed in than the other movies. Like everyone was very sure of what they were trying to do and the tone of the movie. And you didn't have kind of bad actors in it. Yeah.
So question that you probably don't remember. I just remember in the first movie, so we have like Jeffrey Wright is in it, and he's one of the people competing. Was he, just because this movie, they're all kids. And I know in the other movies, it is mostly kids. But there are older people.
I think
are those people like? Did they offer themselves as tribute as well?
It is kids. It's always kids. But I don't know why Jenna Malone and Jeffrey Wright are in the ring.
Well, she would fall under that. She's younger,
I guess.
Yes,
but yeah,
she is.
Oh, and there was an old person.
There was an older woman too.
But I thought it was always about kids. I thought that was
I feel like they were selected.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
Yeah, I just thought maybe in case you had remembered.
No, maybe it is just random, but it feels. I mean, maybe like that second game, they were like in the second movie, Catching Fire. Maybe they're like, we're changing it, and everyone is up for grabs.
Well,
now.
That's because that was all the winners in the second movie.
Oh, that's why it was the old people then. That's what it was.
Oh, I thought Jeffrey Wright was in the first movie.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, you just answered it.
Got it. Cool. In this movie, one of the contestants what are they called? People who compete. Is a girl that experiences Down syndrome. I'm gonna look her up. She was incredible in it, and we were just talking about how the character there's not a lot of that kind of diversity represented in movies.
Yeah, usually if there's someone who experiences a disability, it is played by an actor who does not experience a disability.
Yeah.
And might I add that
Sophia Sanchez.
Yes, Sophia Sanchez. Might I add that when rights are being dealt out to people who are a disparaged group of people, people who experience disabilities are always the last to experience them, even after like people of color and stuff like that. Typically, historically, and I mean, even now, you'll hear comments about people who have these experiences that are like wildly inappropriate that people who aren't even that in touch wouldn't say about like a black person or something like that.
About something like that person can't do that thing.
Yeah, or just
who they are. Even
just the way they phrase certain things. Yeah. It's like, whoa, you don't realize it, but you definitely don't view them as like a complete person.
Yeah.
So something I noticed, especially because I work in this field a little bit. Well, I mean, I do. I just don't directly. Yeah. Anyway, I do billing stuff. But all of that to say, I just thought it was a really cool move that she's in this movie. It's great representation. She does a great job. And then I guess we'll go to spoiler alerts right now.
Yeah.
Because...
Spoiler alert! 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 Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Basically at the movie, so.
Yeah. She is killed unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, you're like, oh man, that's terrible, because your heart goes out to her.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, that's actually kind of cool representation, because I think even 5 years ago, they would have really tugged on your heartstrings and manipulated you to feel a certain way about it. And I just thought, like, that's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you watch a movie with like an all-black cast or close to it, and it's not about racism,
mm-hmm.
Where like those movies are good. I like those movies, and they should exist. But sometimes it's like we kind of just need a movie. We need like if we want equality, sometimes we just need stories where it is just people of different ethnicities and all different types of people, and that's not like why they're
that's not the story.
That's not the story.
They're just part of the story. Because
right.
even in this movie, so in the movie, the you have mentors. People are mentoring the contestants, and even they had another opportunity of her mentor complaining about her. Like, why do I have to mentor her? She blah blah can't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And instead of that scene when they're like all the mentors are meeting with their people. And there is a moment where like we kind of overhear their conversation, and the character Sophia Sanchez, the actress, it's like Wovey or something.
Yeah.
She's talking like, well, I am a really good climber. Like she's talking about how good of a climber she is.
Yeah.
She isn't talking about what she can't do. Her mentor's not telling her what she can't do. It's just a simple like, she's talking about what she can do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just feel like that could have been an opportunity to point something out.
Yeah. And it just wasn't. She was just another actor in the movie, which I really appreciated.
Which I'm curious if in the book, if that character experiences a disability, or
if they just did it
for the movie that it's like she auditioned and she was the best part for that role.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is cooler. I think we are starting to get to a point with a lot of these bigger movies where it just is like. It's starting to feel even more and more normal that there's just like diverse casts, and I think you're hearing less and less people erroneously and stupidly complaining about it.
Yeah.
Like again, I think to bring it back to last week's episode with the Marvels, you got Kamala Khan. She's like full of all these. She ticks a lot of diverse check marks, but it's just like that's just who she is as a character. It's not like
doesn't define her character.
Yeah, and she has agency.
And she's the best part of the movie.
And she's the best part of the movie. And it just feels like yeah, that's just who she is.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So,
just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So the movie begins. We're introduced. Well, we don't have to go every scene here, but
do you like how they split it up in parts and how I liked that.
It felt kind of epic.
Yeah. It was sweet.
Yeah. Part 1, the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're introduced to Snow. I'm not going to try and say his name this whole episode because...
Coriolanus. They say it so much in the movie.
I just was like, why isn't his name just Cornelius? Why does it have to be Coriolanus? So Snow, and already I was like, this is pretty interesting. We see that he's living in the shadow of his father who died, the patriarch of the family, and they are like a family that should be of means, but they are struggling.
Yep.
And so, like,
this is 3 years before the first Hunger Games.
No, it's the 10th one, I think.
No, when they're children.
Oh, I was just skipping that.
Oh. I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, talk about it then.
Then it's 3 years before the first Hunger Games. He's a child. He's with his cousin Tigris, who's also a child, and they're trying to find food. There's dead bodies all around, and they see this person that they're hiding from come up to one of the dead bodies and like hack off a limb. And Coriolanus
is pretty gnarly, actually.
Gnarly. And Snow is like, why is he doing that? And she's like, well, he's starving. So it's showing, it's showing the dystopian part where he came from. And it's this big city, big, tall buildings and everything. And it's all covered in snow.
Uh-huh.
And he does go home and they finds out his father's dead. And that's when they do start talking about him living in the shadow of his father.
Yeah. And it shows, how far will you go when push comes to shove, which is like the theme of the movie. So back to Snow is trying to pretend like he lives in his means. So like when he goes to school, he pretends that he, ate like a huge meal. Mm-hmm. And he's also like sneaking food away and stuff like that. Well, actually, that's later. But
yes, but he does sneak food back for his family, who he lives with his grandma and his cousin. And you do see early on, like his cousin took his dress shirt and like made it better, like hemmed it or fixed it, created little buttons for it. Just like this is where they're at, where she's trying to be resourceful, and it's just all appearances that they're like that they belong in the capital.
So already I was like, pretty interesting. And this like I thought was smart because it both humanizes him.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he can still be evil at some point. This will work for his character.
Yep. I was looking up the name Coriolanus.
Okay.
Because I was just curious. Well, it's a tragedy written by Shakespeare about a Roman general.
Shakespeare, what a hack.
Gaius Marcius Coriolanus. He was very courageous during a Roman siege of the Volscian city of Corioli.
Okay.
But then he was exiled from Rome and led troops of Rome's enemy, the Volsci, to besiege the city. So sounds like kind of a gray area person.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he goes to school, and it is, again, because there's all these, like, words. It's just kind of a little bit eye rolling. That's, like, kind of my only complaint about the movie, but it's really the world. Is, like, they're in the future and stuff, and yet they're saying, like, let's get the plinth prize, and you're Coriolanus, and you're Sejanus, and there's going to be PETA later and stuff, and I'm like, okay, pump the brakes here.
The first part of the movie, I didn't understand a word that was being said. I was like, I am so lost. I guess, granted, I've not read the book, so I just don't know the vocabulary, and I was getting pretty annoyed, and I was like, this is a bad start.
Yeah.
But then I quickly got over it because it was just like, you didn't read the books, you don't know, and not that you need to do homework or anything.
Yeah.
But also I thought, like, what is happening? Like, what's the important thing that's happening? We're seeing the Coriolanus is like barely class wise belongs in this school, and all of these people are like super snooty and think that they're entitled to everything when Coriolanus has literally had to like forage for food as a child.
Yeah.
And they're all talking about this plinth prize and the next Hunger Games. It's like, oh, I understand that, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to like get mad over the vocabulary.
And I, just for anyone who's wondering, I did not get confused during this scene. Not to say like I'm smarter and understood, but it's like I don't feel like you have to have read the book.
No, I don't think so either. And I think that part of that was just me going into it not wanting to like this movie.
Yeah. And by then I was already like, okay, this is kind of interesting.
I know. So it's like they're like the 24 best students. And they... Okay, so the Plinth Prize, it sounds like it's about to be announced. We get introduced to like Sir James, whose dad like buys him everything, like buys him his diploma, buys him yada yada.
Well, he's the president.
Oh, no, he's not, because the president
is.
No, the president's son dies later, and it's not Sejanus. It's a different guy.
What?
His dad is just some like bigwig dude who's like works there or something.
Oh, I did not.
Because the other guy's not his brother.
Okay. I don't even know what other guy you're talking about, but...
The guy, I mean, I don't know. Remember during the Hunger Games, they do breaking news.
Uh-huh.
The president's son, Felix something, is dead.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
So, but...
That confused me. I think
this guy's dad is like, within favor of everybody, and he has all this money.
Yeah.
But... it sounds like Coriolanus is really in line to get this Plinth Prize, which I think would give him some kind of free ride to this university. So then he can like slowly work in the government and one day like be president. That's like his aspirations and stuff. But there is a twist to this plan. That's when Peter Dinklage is introduced. He's like some morphine addicted professor or something. His performance is bonkers bananas great, as usual.
He just has such gravitas. I turned and said that, and you said I was about to say that same thing. And that when he came in the movie, I was like, okay, I'm like locked into this movie.
Yeah.
Like he just is so commanding, and he is an actor, and I'd never noticed this before. But first of all, he's so like, you're kind of on his side, like. Even when he plays like bad guys, you're just kind of like, I just love watching this guy, and I get where he's coming from. Yeah. Even like Elf, you kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
But he's really good at little mannerisms.
Yeah.
Like when he comes in,
it's all in the eyes.
But he also like taps someone on the shoulder, and the way he did it was just like he has complete control of this room.
I know.
I feel like he'd be a really interesting. Not that I have much experience with this, but he'd be an interesting person to see do like a. Death of a Salesman or something like on Broadway.
Oh my gosh,
I feel like he'd be a very good Broadway actor and probably is.
Yeah, probably. Oh, he's a national treasure.
Yeah.
He's an international treasure. No, he's a universal treasure.
He's right up there with Keanu.
Yeah. So this is when we find out that the Hunger Games, which I don't think are called the Hunger Games yet, or are they?
They are.
Okay. So we're on the 10th one.
Yeah.
They are not doing well. Like, they're not getting the viewership that they want.
Yeah.
So they're trying to come up with ideas to revamp it.
Yeah.
So one of these ideas is these 24 top students are going to be a mentor of each contestant.
Yeah.
Of one of the contestants. And whoever's contestant wins, they win the Plinth Prize.
Yeah.
Great.
They actually don't. They specifically say even if you win, you might not get it.
Oh, they do say that?
Yeah.
Okay,
but
that's
they're going to take everything into consideration.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's potentially their best shot.
Yeah.
Of getting it.
And so, but throughout the movie, you see that Peter Dinklage like really hates snow, and you don't really know why until the end. And I just felt like that was like really good writing, especially when when it all comes together, you're like, oh yeah, that would make sense why you would try and stop this guy.
Yeah.
It's like paying for your own sins in the past.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about when we get there.
Right. And we do find out early on that him and Snow's dad were like best friends.
Yeah.
So you do kind of think like, well, why wouldn't he be friendlier to him?
Yeah.
And favor him and maybe help him.
And he seems to like want the games to be over, and he's like depressed.
Yeah.
And then the Sejanus guy is also like, this is the worst thing in the world. This is terrible.
Yeah, he's definitely like, as kind of classic young adult growing up, and his eyes are starting to open to see what is actually going on.
Yeah.
And not just being clouded by like this game that's always been fun for him and his class.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, this is affecting real people.
Yeah.
And
but he's also like upper crust of the upper crust. So it's like he doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they like dole out who the mentors will be to which contestant.
Yep.
And it is just movie thing that's funny is like each person that they bring up, they're like this person on the screen and they wave, then it goes directly to the next person. And then for some reason, Rachel Zegler, they're like, this person gets it. And the camera just stays there. And she like walks up and gets all the way up there and has this big
That's
show.
because it's a movie and they know that.
Right. But yeah, so Zegler gets chosen and she sings this like spiritual hymn.
After putting a snake in a girl's dress.
Yes. And when she sang, I was kind of like, you know, like you said, unless you're watching a musical, sometimes when people sing, you almost like feel embarrassed when you're watching it. Not that, I mean, she's an insane singer.
It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Listen to our Pitch Perfect episodes.
Right. But it's just like, okay, what are we doing here? But then you think like music and song are part of revolutions. This isn't actually that weird of a thing. But it just feels like, okay, let's just see where this goes. And then, you know, of course, Snow is matched up with her, Lucy Gray.
District 12, the worst, the lowest of the low.
Yeah. And so then he goes and meets her at the train station.
Oh, yeah, okay. When does he get this idea? Oh, he gets it from his cousin. So like all this stuff happens. He goes home and he's like, oh, this is so frustrating. I thought I was going to get the Plinth Prize today, but I have to mentor this lowlife. And his cousin's like, well, think about, like, she's like, you got to think about how scared she is and how she can't trust anybody. The best thing you can do as a mentor is convince her that she can trust you.
Yeah.
Have a relationship with this person.
And once again, this is cool because you're kind of setting up, like, I see them setting up a heroic arc for him.
Yes.
And I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But they take it in the right direction of the manipulation kind of thing.
Yeah.
But kind of not. You know, they make it a gray area, which I think is the strength of this movie.
I agree. So, yeah, he meets her at the train. Of course, no other mentors would even dream of doing this.
Yeah.
Especially because we see, as we see the other contestants too, they're all very angry. Of course they would be. They have just been chosen to fight to the freaking death. They have to kill, they're innocent and they have to kill other innocent people for absolutely no reason other than the enjoyment of people who are ruining their lives. So
my gosh, the binky fell out and she picked it up and did put it back in her mouth.
Wow.
That is kind of crazy. Folks, she was supposed to be asleep over an hour ago now. And she's really she's fussy.
Laying down the law with us.
I'm like, it almost, I mean, at some point, maybe we should try and feed and then try and put her down again.
Yeah.
Anyway, are you checking? Can I leave this in?
Sure, I don't care. So he meets her at the train and goes with them to like the zoo.
Yeah, they're literally keeping them in a zoo. That's where we meet Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, I like that they talk about how her colorful dress. I don't know why. I think that if they'd never really talked about something like why it's colorful,
that'd be really weird. Yeah,
because everyone else is so dingy. Most everyone else is like just so dingy, and she talks about how she comes from, it's called a covey of people who would go around traveling singing.
Yeah.
But they were like that was long ago. Now, now they're just part of District 12. And being colorful and vibrant and musical is like part of her culture. Yeah. Nice touch.
Yeah. So just traveling Wilburys, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, there's this whole thing about like trusting each other, and they're not sure how to trust each other. And she's of course suspicious of him, but then the next day Snow is in trouble because he was not supposed to do all of this. Mm-hmm. But then the game master, played by Miss Davis, mm-hmm. She's like, that was cool. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Sometimes in a movie, no matter how serious, you need a little bit of cheese on your cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying?
We already have that with Schwartzman in this movie.
That's true. But sometimes you need like a little secret sauce, I guess, on your burger.
Demands a little bit of a Mad Hatter.
Yeah. And I think she knocks it out of the park. It is so fun seeing her kind of mad scientist, or definitely not kind of. And she's a little kooky, but I do like that she plays it straight and true to her character, and there's not a wink at the camera.
Yeah.
It's like she's just kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So she creates the games.
Yeah.
And she's just like, Snow, I think you kind of are getting into something. I want like a 24-page report on how we can make the games better because you just upped our viewership.
Yeah.
And so all of that, I'm like, okay, again, this movie's getting me.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
Well, we can go to that part. What happens in between that and like what happens at night?
Well, and then like the next day, like everyone goes and meets them at the zoo.
Yeah, the other mentors are like, I guess he's got something there. I want to win, so I'm gonna follow what he did. So he does go back with food for Lucy Gray and Jessup.
Yeah,
her counterpart from District 12.
Yeah.
Before that, he has a conversation with Sejanus. It's established early on that people are like, "Oh, Coriolanus, you're friends with Sejanus," and Snow is like, "No, we're not friends. We're just acquaintances. I'm just trying to be friendly with everyone and kiss everyone's butt for my own butt." And then you start kind of seeing Sejanus just question everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, takes food to them. Other mentors are there.
One's like taunting hers and she gets killed.
Yeah, she's taunting hers with like water.
Like, this is so graphic. It's crazy.
Crazy graphic. And then also just like such a great illustration of showing like where we're at in this series, I guess, prequel wise. I think there's, by the time we get to the Hunger Games, Jennifer Lawrence ones, like there's still that element, obviously, of you are lesser than. But this was just so interesting that like, obviously she sees this person as an animal.
Yeah.
And this person kills her. This contestant kills her mentor. And then that person gets shot. That was really shocking to me because I wasn't expecting, one, for someone like of this class to be murdered. But then also like, oh, a contestant just got killed.
Right.
What does that mean for the games?
Yeah.
And then before we even get to the games, like 4 other people die.
Yeah.
Who are supposed to be in it. And it was just so shocking.
Yeah, it really was. And then pretty much we get to the game, or we get to like the like where the mentors are meeting with them, right?
Yeah, mentors are meeting with them. They get like 15 minutes to look around the arena, create a strategy.
Snow is basically like, we need to make this a media circus kind of a thing. Like we need to create like storylines so that people will be engaged. He keeps telling her, like, you gotta sing, you gotta sing, you gotta sing. Yeah.
That's the best thing she can do.
And the game master's like, oh, yeah. And Peter Dinklage is like, oh, no. So he's very anti that.
Yeah.
She's very pro it. So she's pushing these things forward. And everyone's trying to create their narrative why these people are worth following and wanting to win and getting donations and stuff like that. And so this is pretty cool because it's, this is like kind of a real world application.
Yeah.
Taking the news or taking people's lives, creating a media circus out of it and ruining them all for the sake of profit or control.
Yeah.
In this case, it's control.
Yeah. So everyone's looking around the arena, and she says to him, like, please don't let me die. She is like so scared and pleading with him. And then out of nowhere, there's a huge several explosions. And the arena is being bombed by rebels.
And here was what was great about this. First of all, it was shot really cool.
Yes, it was.
I actually think the CGI
of the bombing.
No, in the whole movie, like the integration of CGI, except for like 2 shots.
Yeah.
I thought was like really good.
Yeah,
because it was a lot of practical stuff.
Yeah.
There was just a dying rat that looked really bad. That was kind of the only thing I remember.
Yeah.
But
sometimes it feels like they do that on purpose.
Why?
PETA-wise.
Oh. It was just nice because a lot of blockbusters to this level with this amount of budget usually have some pretty wonky stuff, including the other 4 Hunger Games movies. So, this was nice. But yeah, this bombing happens. Oh, well, I just feel like there was 2 shots. I don't remember what the other one was.
But you thought the drones were fine?
I thought the drones were fine, yeah. But this bombing happens, and when it happens, my first thought, not trusting the movie, is like, Oh, if the games did this makes no sense. Why would they do that?
Before the games have even started, but it's like some twisted like
yeah, and it's like you're
making
killing
the mentors like participate.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is this? And then when they're like rebels attacked it, I'm like, oh, that's such a great. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it completely wrecks the arena, and like I said, I think like 4 other contestants die. And Snow gets injured, but he is saved by Lucy Gray.
But she could have run, but she saved him.
Yeah, and it was just no expectations for this movie. When they were like, okay, we're still gonna have the games, and you guys have to compete in the arena that was bombed, and it's like you're just gonna keep it that way.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he like checks out the game before and finds some stuff and gives her advice and gives her rat poison.
Yeah, gives her rat poison.
All right, so the Hunger Games begin, the 10th annual. And first of all, just again, special shout out, Jason Schwartzman during all of this he really threads the needle nicely of some comedic stuff, but not being too over the top, which Stanley Tucci does in the others very well.
So he is the first host. This is like the first time they're really doing like a big hullabaloo about it.
But yeah, the games start, and Snow told Lucy to just go to this like tunnel that's been formed.
Yeah.
And so he heads there, and he says, forget about the weapons.
Don't worry about the weapons. And then she says that she has to worry about Jessup, though.
And he's like, don't
even worry about him. Which at this point, we've been seeing that he's been deteriorating. He has rabies.
Yeah.
And
is it true that you're afraid of water? If you, that's true.
They cover it in Seinfeld, Micah.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't know that. And I was like,
but yeah, it is. It's a weird, I don't know. Yeah. That is true.
So they're doing the game. I mean, how much do we want to explain the Hunger Game?
Well, like we had mentioned before, for some reason, it's been a while since I've seen the other movies, but this one felt more violent. I know that the other movies are fairly violent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about maybe like they're all kids.
I mean, but that's what they're in the others.
I know, but we're like seeing them like stab each other.
It just felt like there was like I
think it's because
brutality, even in the way it was shot, that wasn't there in the previous movies.
I think it's scary too because there is a gang formed.
Yeah.
And then you have children, and then you have like this one girl that was like has been crying the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you have another girl that has an illness, has tuberculosis
she
or
keeps
something,
like coughing and stuff.
Yeah, and so it's just you see. I don't know. It's just really sad, I guess.
You know what it also is though, because I'm remembering in Hunger Games 1 how there's also like a group of kids,
a gang, yeah.
But they're a little like Disney Channel bullies.
Okay.
That feeling. And in this movie, it felt like the actors it just felt like all the actors were like way above the weight class of like the previous movies.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that.
So I think that makes it a little bit more brutal.
She does get Jessup and they go down into the tunnels, and then they go to this door and they like crawl through a little an opening in the door, and this one girl's trying to get after them, and of course now that the baby's gone, we have Gilmore with his toy, but the girl is halfway in the door trying to get them,
and the baby's still here. She's just asleep.
Yeah,
the baby's
finally
not
got her
gone.
down, guys.
You said now that the baby's gone.
But yeah, so she's trying to get them, but she's like stuck in the opening.
Yeah, and
she just lets out a blood curdling scream because she was stabbed on the other side, and that was like awful.
Yeah. Well, and the Capitol people, like they strung up someone before the game started, which also felt
away.
Like pretty gnarly.
And it felt like, and I might get this wrong, but it sounds like, so that was Sejanus's person. And it felt like he had a relationship with that person. So that kid, I think, was like from District 2.
They were like friends when they were kids.
I think that like Sejanus is from District 2 or something, and maybe their family like rose to the Capitol. So yeah, it's like this is because I know that they said that his dad he bribed someone for him to get that person.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like now it's personal.
Yeah.
For him.
And he has that great freak out. I mean, this guy's definitely an actor to watch because he's amazing in West Side Story as well.
Who was he in West Side Story?
He's part of
that one guy's like crew.
Yeah, I don't. It's the Jets and the Sharks. Is the Shark?
Right?
I think he's part of the Sharks.
Yeah.
Because when you're a Jet, you're the Jet all the way. Yeah, he's not a Jet. He's a Shark.
You're supposed to snap when you say it.
When you're a Jet all the way. But yeah, he was like crazy good in that movie. And in this movie, like that scene where his guy dies and they're at like the control panel and he throws his chair and he's like, "This is wrong," and like screams. I was like, that's good. I like this guy.
Good job, Sir Janus. Sir Janus.
And then throughout the movie, he just kept on being like, he gave me a Vincent D'Onofrio vibe.
Whoa. That is crazy. That how true you are about
Thank
that.
goodness.
Are you just not realizing that, or do you think?
I
about
thought that during the movie.
That's.
I actually was like, because I forgot.
That's
he was
better than what you said. What else you said during the movie?
I thought for sure the movie was gonna roll credits and his last name was gonna be D'Onofrio.
Oh, really?
Because he looks a lot like him.
He does kind of look like him.
No,
Shut it. No. The
Someone out there, it's probably going to be Dominic, is going to be like, I agree with Micah.
The guy who plays Cornhole, Snow.
It's like, what was the? Oh, it was last week's episode where we kept calling the main
Darbin.
bad guy like
I'll never forget
Dilbert
the name now.
or something.
Coriolanus. Micah turns to me, he's like, Hugh Jackman. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yes.
No. And I was like, to me, I was like, he's got like a Tom Felton vibe going on.
No.
He's like a rich man's Tom Felton.
So the whole movie.
And then you said Chris Martin and Hugh Jackman had a baby. And I was like, fine, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I would say, I'd go so far as to say when the movie was going, I was the Vincent D'Onofrio one. I was like,
have you seen a picture of Hugh Jackman? I'm looking up a picture of Hugh Jackman.
All right. What's this guy's name though?
Like, is it Timothy Blythe or
Tom Blythe?
Tom
okay.
Blythe.
Okay. Well, this picture of him on his Wikipedia, they always find the only most unflattering picture for everyone. Yeah, he's got the nose and the eyes.
No.
Let me just see if I can.
It's a no for me.
I just thought to myself, you know what? He's probably gonna be cast as Wolverine if they want a young Wolverine. So
he looks nothing like him.
He looks like him. I'm talking a son. He doesn't look like he is Hugh Jackman. He looks like Hugh Jackman's son. And I thought this is probably in the right age range, and I thought for sure the movie was going to end, and it was going to say blank Jackman.
This is so off topic. I'm sorry.
Can you give me that?
I'm going to blow past it.
Ah.
I did see that. I don't know if you saw this, but they were able to promote this movie during the strike.
Oh, they were?
Because something about Lionsgate doesn't fall under a certain thing.
Really? Okay.
Let me find the thing that I saw. But
okay.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and I wonder how much of that is helping this movie.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, when he did get his head shaved later in the movie, he does look a lot like Chris Martin. He looked a lot like Chris Martin. Jordan.
Okay.
She's just blowing past it. But she's furrowed brow, but she's not saying it out loud, which makes the editing
This is talking
difficult.
about them pushing Dune Part 2. And there were concerns that this movie would be pushed because of the strike. But Lionsgate was like, no, we do not want to push this movie. But then...
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Come on, I don't want to edit.
On October 30th, the film was given an interim agreement so that actors could promote it during the strike, since Lionsgate is not a part of the AMPTP.
Oh, okay.
So well, I think kind of like A24. They were like, we agree to all your terms.
Yeah, okay.
That's my guess, right?
I think so. Well, it sounds like they're just not a part of that producing
but
place,
like, it's also said interim agreement. So I'm just wondering if it's also like, we agree to this also.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Because the strike is technically not over still, right?
I don't think so.
They I
think they're really close, right?
Yeah. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, it's done.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's why they pushed
Although
Dune.
I think it is over, isn't it?
Well, they agreed, but it hadn't been, voted on yet. And then I don't know if the vote went through yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
But
but I've been seeing a ton of people like I think it is over though because a lot of like actors and people that I follow are like
you're right
dumping photos.
Yeah, they're like, this is what I did the last 6 months.
Yeah, that I couldn't share.
Yeah, and like the Marvels on Friday, I remember like she posted. Brie Larson was like, "Oh, go see the movie. Here's a picture of me in the suit." You know, yeah, and they got like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson into like a late show like that Friday. So
yeah,
yeah. So this movie,
so yeah, they're Lucy Gray and Jessup are hiding underground while the gang leaves to go try and hunt down more kids. During that time. Is it Viola Davis gets Cornelius? I gotta start saying Snow. Snow to like come with her or he's like summoned to her
chamber. Or whatever.
Her chamber. Oh no, that was earlier. Because that's when we're first this is before the games, but remember he has like that partner that's like, I'm taking credit for everything that you wrote, and that's when we are introduced to those snakes, and so on and so forth. We see like that establishes that Viola like really likes Snow.
Yeah, and not just the weather. But when they introduced these snakes, which you'd seen in the trailers, of course, and earlier in the movie, Lucy had said that she sang to a snake. I thought this could be really bad because this movie has this like amount of realism that feels really good. And if there's a scene where all these snakes, which you'd already seen in the trailer, the snakes go all over. So it's like, they're going to go all over, and she's going to sing like Snow White and like save all the snakes from getting her.
That's funny. She is Snow White.
Right.
Did you know that?
Yes.
When you made that joke? Okay.
But also it just reminds me of Snow White, sings with the animals. And so it's actually, of all the things that they've done, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense having her as Snow White. That really tracks.
Don't care.
But yeah, it's going to probably be a washed out movie. You can't see like all the other ones. So I'm thinking that, and then if we can jump around a little bit, you have standard the Hunger game, except it's more tense and better. But when those snakes come down, Snow had planted like her scent with the snakes, which they establish in the scene we're just talking about, that if they have the scent, they won't attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then she still does sing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like this legendary element to it, which feels very like folklore-ish.
Yeah.
And it feels cool. But you have like the rational side that's like, it's actually because he put that handkerchief in there with her scent.
Yep.
And I was like, that is cool. You have your cake and you're eating it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because I just saw them plant that, and within the first like half hour, and I was like, that's gonna be a bad scene.
It's gonna be a demarcation in the movie.
Yeah, but it really worked.
Yeah.
So he's trying to help her. He's trying to get the sponsors to send stuff.
Because of sponsorship, you can send things to your contestants. It was like a new feature. And it gets people more invested because they're paying for it now. And so so Lucy Gray and Jessup get back to the surface. Don't remember why, but they get back to the surface. He is going crazy on rabies. Is going to try and kill her.
Yeah.
Slips, falls, dies.
Yeah, because they make a drone come and hit him with water.
Yeah. So then the gang finds her and starts chasing her down to kill her. She hides in a vent. Well, before that, she puts rat poison in water.
Yeah.
Try to get the kids to drink it. Of course, sadly, the girl with like tuberculosis drinks it and dies. I like that they took the time. So they have that other guy. Don't know what district he was from, but he wore like had the flowers on his shirt, and he pulled the flag off and covered the bodies in it.
Oh yeah.
I like that they took the time to do that with his character.
That was great.
Any character, because
it's like his revolt against the Capitol, and it's like I don't care what's.
We don't really like get to see much. We don't get to know the contestants very much because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's about Snow.
They established that guy is like. I thought that guy was gonna have more of an intense part to play, like being ruthless. But he is just like, this is all wrong, and I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
So you have these dead bodies skewed around, including the girl from his district who just died, and he lines them all up, all the bodies so far, pulls off the flag and covers the bodies. And pulling off the flag would be like,
ripping down the American
flag and letting it touch the ground, which apparently is a crime or something.
I don't think it's actually a crime.
Okay, but it's like
you can burn a flag if you want.
Free speech.
Yeah. I mean, there's no like law against it,
but it's it's really bad.
Yeah, I mean, your neighbors aren't going to be happy.
Yeah,
it's not the wisest thing to do.
So that's what he does. Covers the bodies and is like you said, revolting. Like, are you watching now?
Yeah. Although, actually, I mean, maybe it's one of those things like you're not allowed to like destroy currency, where it's like you could, and you're not going to get in trouble. Like, no one's going to find out. But like, if you were filmed like destroying currency, maybe you would get fined or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it is something like that. I don't know. I don't advise you to burn the American flag. Okay,
yeah,
or any
not
flag
what we're
for that
talking
matter.
About. But she is an event, Lucy Gray, and she gets more rat poison into another kid.
Yeah,
and then she falls out of the vent, so on and so forth.
So what's cool about this is you're seeing how morally gray all of this is, because she's not
how Lucy Gray all of this is.
Yeah, she's not trying to kill anyone, but she winds up like inadvertently killing the girl who has tuberculosis, and she feels really bad about that. And then Snow will go on to kill several people.
Oh, we missed this part.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah,
he sneaks in to help Sejanus.
Yep.
When the feed is down, because he's upset about 2 dying, and so he has to convince him to get out of there before the media finds out.
I like that Snow was threatened to do it.
Yeah,
it wasn't like he
didn't
saving
choose
his
to.
friend.
Yeah,
he didn't choose to.
This is that heroic thing that they did so well.
Yeah.
And so then he winds up killing a contestant, and the next day no one knows why it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I was forced to do it, which in a way he kind of was.
Yeah.
But
like
then
his life or his life.
Yeah, it's like, and this is much like the rat poison thing, where you're like, yeah, you kind of were forced to do that, but you also could have maybe figured something else out. Like it's that moral gray, and it's cool to see their reactions where she's haunted by it, and he's convinced himself like it was just something I had to do.
Yeah,
that's too bad.
It was Collateral.
Collateral, yeah. Directed by Michael Mann. So anyway, at some point, the games are just not going the way that the game leader wants it to go. Snow has been informed that he will not be receiving the Plinth Prize, because
even though his contestant won.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage is like, no, he says it before. He's like,
you're right.
I'm not gonna let you have it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, so see how much you care about her now, which I love that.
Love that.
And then they drop the snakes in. She sings, and the snakes know her scent, gets out.
But then Viola Davis isn't going to do anything about it. She wants. So this is after the president's son is killed or dies as a result of that rebel attack. So she's like, all of them are going to die now. There will be no winner as a punishment for all these districts and the rebels.
Yeah.
So she's the last person standing, and she's not going to do anything about it. Let her die. But she's also really confused. Why isn't she dying? Being killed by the snakes. And
I do love that because it feels like, he does care beyond just his own personal gain. Because,
but this is showing the pathos that has been added to the Hunger Games that has been lacking.
Yeah.
There are people finally rooting for the contestants, which it feels like before then, there wasn't really much of having a favorite. So he's like pleading with her.
Isn't that kind of the whole thing?
No, but it's just not. To me, they establish it in a way that that hasn't been done before.
Yes, I agree.
Like, of course, you have favorites, but now you can like be a sponsor and directly affect what's happening.
Yeah,
and choose your favorite by paying money for it or be like watching it. Like, more people are watching it, so more people care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they can do that in all the other ones, though.
They made it sound like this is the first.
Oh, you're comparing it to the first 9. I thought you were talking about the Hunger Games movies.
No, I'm talking
and I was
about.
Like, I think they established in this.
I'm talking about the first 9.
I got you.
Yeah. So he's like pleading, like, end the games. She won. And then everyone around him starts chanting, like, stop the games.
So at this point, he does seem kind of heroic. And then and
I bet he would think he's heroic.
Yes. That's an important note.
Really important.
This movie's really good. I hope it continues to do well, because it is kind of sweet, again, with this year, that like the box office movies that are doing well are not just like, hey, go see Blue Beetle, go see The Flash. It's like, it has to be good.
Yeah.
It has to be good. And I haven't watched the Blue Beetle, so maybe it's good. But all of that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, anyway.
Yeah. So she wins, and he's like taken to this room where he's like, oh, I get to meet, she won, and we get to be together, or, whatever.
Yeah.
She's not there. It's just Dinklage. And he's like, we know that you cheated. And he has the compact and the handkerchief that they found. We know that you cheated. So you're going to be punished by being basically for the rest of your
summarily
days.
Executed. No.
For the rest of your days, you're just going to be an army brat. Peacekeeper. And you're going to be, so all your life dream goals
are gone.
No more. So he is going to be sent to a random district.
Yeah.
And then he's like, send me to District 12.
And this is because I don't remember what this, this one was called The Peacekeeper, right? Because it was The Mentor, Part 1. I don't remember what Part 2 was called.
Probably The Hunger Games.
Yeah, it might have been. And then
let's say The Peacekeeper.
Yeah. And here's what is cool, that I'm already seeing a couple people with you and then someone I follow in Letterboxd. So I'm like, okay, this might be a consensus about the movie, is the movie kind of screeches to a halt and does like movie 2.
Yeah.
And here's what I think. This is just my I'll present this, then you can say what you'd like to say. I think this is a little bit brilliant. It does make the movie feel longer, and it is like an hour more of the movie. But the previous movies, except for Part 1 and Part 2 of Mockingjay, like the climax is the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we're getting toward the end of the Hunger Games, you're feeling like, okay, the movie is ending.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the big climax. And then there's an entire hour left, an entire third of this movie to go. And I just think that was kind of brilliant for expectations, for one. And then I think it just really takes the character arcs all the way home instead of trying to wrap them in a neat bow with the climax of the story.
Yep.
So I really liked the last third of this movie.
I ultimately believe or agree with you. Because at a certain point in this movie, I had to pee really bad. And I was just like, how much longer do we have? It must be over.
You didn't have to pee during Killers of the Flower Moon, but this one
got me. But yeah, so I do agree with you, because I originally was like, man, this is way too long. It's always tough to like have two stories in one story. Yeah. Because no matter what, you have your, rising action climax, falling action denouement, and then you have to do it kind of all over again.
Right.
And that's always tough, stamina wise, for your audience.
Yep.
The important thing though, like if you haven't seen this movie yet, and it's crazy that you're still listening to this podcast and getting all these spoilers. Remember though that this movie is about a character. Or if you watched the movie and you were like, I did think that last part was way too long. Remember that it's not about the Hunger Games. It's about Snow.
Yep.
So once
and Lucy.
And Lucy.
Yeah.
But after this movie was over, that's when I kind of realized it for myself and was like, okay, I'm okay with it ultimately. I do still think it was a little too long, in my opinion.
Sure.
I think in terms of like, if we're going to look at it acts, which it is 3 acts, they split up into 3 parts.
Yeah.
I think it should be kind of your classic, this last act is the shortest one.
Right. And this was like maybe as long or longer than one or even 2 of them.
Yes.
So it really does like come down and then like restart. But I just really, I just was really like on board with it.
Yeah.
But
it was great, even if though I felt it was too long.
I did look at my watch a few times though, and I was like, like I think there's like a lot of this movie left.
Yeah, I turned to you, I was like, what do we got, like 2 hours left?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, we got like 30 minutes. You look at your watch, you're like, oh, I don't think we got an hour left.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd be interested if anyone like clocked it, like maybe online, someone marked it or something by now. But yeah, I mean, this was a long section of the movie.
It was,
but it's really essential, and it prevents it from being okay. Over the next 2 years, you're gonna have 4 hours of this story, and it's split up and feels disjointed.
Yep.
So I think it was totally
that was because at a certain point, because I knew you had told me
what Francis said.
Yeah. Beforehand.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten, I think, by the time we watched this movie. So I don't remember at which part, but I thought, shouldn't this be 2 parts?
Yeah.
And then though, as it's all progressing and going along, I was like, I don't want 2 parts though.
Yeah.
Even though maybe I felt like it could have been, I don't want it.
Well, and it would have had to have kind of a cliffhanger-y kind of thing, even though it does feel kind of complete.
And I think if you made it 2 parts, you would be I just think it's like how you're going to fall into the prequel trap where you're trying to make it as epic as the other stuff.
Yeah, and it, it's the classic thing we always talk about with book adaptions where it's like, I'm sure there's plenty in the book. I'm sure there's a Tom Bombadil. But you know what? Sometimes it's fun to just have the book readers know who Tom Bombadil is. And if you saw Lord of the Rings, even the extended version, you never know who Tom Bombadil is. And you don't get that.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it would be kind of a waste of time in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Even though I think amongst every Lord of the Rings reader, we're all like, Tom Bombadil's kind of the coolest character ever.
He puts on the ring and it doesn't do anything.
I know, but it is like, I'm ultimately always so excited that they never did anything with him. Because I just think
even in The Hobbit, I know, like throwing him in or something.
Yeah, I just think it's so cool that it's like whenever you meet someone who just read it and you get to say like, how cool is Tom Bombadil? And they're like, Tom Bombadil's so awesome. I love him.
Yeah.
And we all love saying his name.
Yeah.
So
he's at District 12, which he bribed himself to get there.
Yep.
And so Janus is with him.
Yep.
So
Sir Janus,
thank you. I think kind of throughout their time together, in a way, Snow brought up things like you affect change in a different way. Think about what your money can do to affect change, or like you're thinking too big, or like think more specific. So basically, he inspires Sejanus to enlist as a peacekeeper.
Yeah. He's saying, don't be Batman, be Bruce Wayne, and fund your money in ways that'll make the world better.
Yeah. And so James becomes a peacekeeper. And I like too when he meets him on the train, Snow is like, oh, I was contemplating suicide, basically.
Yeah.
And so James is like, well, that would give them satisfaction.
Yeah.
And basically he repeats his words back to him, like, think about what change you can do now.
Right.
As a peacekeeper. So they're going through this together. They're in District 12. We see a hanging kind of right off the bat.
Yeah. I was kind of like, Jesus.
I forget why the person got hung, but it's like not just.
Yeah.
And this woman, this woman is like freaking out about it.
Yeah.
She's arrested for treason and
the wife, I think.
Okay.
Which I just want to side note really quick. I don't think that Batman comics should be about him just funding foundations.
Yeah.
Because as Patrick Willem says, sometimes the Clown Prince of Crime just poisons the water, and you have to put on your bat cowl and,
Yeah. It happens. Happens to us all.
I just am remembering that in The Flash, an episode you guys will hear in a couple weeks, they make kind of a jab about that, and it's like, I don't need this. I don't need this in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Shut up.
So throughout this part of the movie, we see Sejanus is he is working with the people,
with the rebels.
He is going to affect change by infiltrating and helping them with his influence, power, money, whatever. Any way he can. And time after time, Snow warns him to knock it off.
Yeah. Now, did you understand how the Mockingjay birds worked?
What do you mean?
I got a little confused because it was like they would record something, and then when they press play, it sounded like, I was like, are they just using a recorder, or are the birds playing it back?
The birds are playing it back.
But what does the machine have to do with any of it? That the record and then it was like record and then play. I'm not faulting the movie. I just didn't quite understand that.
I think you have the remote that gives you the option to manually do it.
To do what?
Record.
So it's just like they can have the like pure audio?
The bird is recording and playing back. And the remote is the remote.
So when you press, so it's like a shock collar where it's like,
no, the bird's not real.
Oh.
This is in the other movies.
Oh.
Don't you remember?
So these are robot birds.
Yeah. I think, right?
Oh. Okay. Why do they have to?
Or they're genetically modified. Like they're cyborg birds or something.
They must be cyborg birds because there was this whole scene where they're trying to catch them.
Yeah, they still would have to catch them if they're out and loose. Oh, you think that they could just press a button and they all come back?
Yeah.
I think, and this is probably explained in the books or something, some BS like that. They are birds that were bred, but they are like a computer. Like, they have a computer in them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm feeling less stupid than when you said, did you think the birds were real? Now I'm starting to feel like there's a little merit to what I'm saying, but Okay. Yeah. That's cool. That's actually really cool.
Okay.
But I was more just trying to figure it out. And I was confused by it. Because I was thinking they were like macabre birds or something, which can like mimic.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Okay.
So
I do like, there's this really nice touch when the guy is hung. And I think that's what like the Hangman song is about, is that first guy that gets hung, or maybe it's a
really? I
later
just
guy.
thought it was like old. Like no one knows where that song came from. It's so old.
No. Lucy writes it.
Oh, she does. I thought she was just singing it because it's an old song.
No, she writes it.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, see that I feel like is a fun connection to the series, not an R2D2 C3PO thing. So it's a pretty wild and very ominous scene, and it was kind of weird because a couple of people like chuckled near us. They also chuckled at a kiss later, and I was like, okay, what are we doing here? You're clearly like in your 30s. Why are you like, oh, kissing? But anyway, when he got hung and the wife was like, no, and I think he like let out something, the birds were flying above and they were mimicking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like gross in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, I don't know, that was just those touches where it's like, Francis, this is way better than your previous stuff.
I thought that was so cool too. So he meets Lucy Gray again. She's back at District 12.
I'm just gonna show you how Talia looks right now on the camera.
She's very tired.
Okay.
They reunite. And they fall in love.
Yeah. And I feel like at this point, it is kind of like, where is this going now?
Yeah.
Because it's like they're kind of falling in love. They're like having secret rendezvous and stuff like that. I think
the whole time you're supposed to be like, okay, this is a scene where she's gonna kill him because she doesn't trust him. Okay, this is a scene where he's gonna kill her because he can't, because he's bad.
Oh,
this is a scene where she's gonna kill him.
But
did you never think that at any point?
No.
Are you serious that the last part of the movie when they were like running away together, you did not think that she was gonna kill him? I thought that they were heavily trying to make you think that.
Oh no, I didn't think that.
Really? Because to skip ahead.
Yeah.
She's wearing his mom's scarf, and the way that she's wearing it, you can't see one of her hands and her arms, and it looks like there's something in it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna try and kill him, and he's gonna like kill her out of like self-defense. But
it took until he said he killed 3 people, and that's when
Who was the third person?
That I didn't know.
I couldn't remember.
Okay, because he only killed 2.
The kid and
then when he shot in the scene in the...
So maybe he considers Sejanus' death like by his hand. Like he considers it. Because that's the only thing I could think of.
Well, and he does say like, I killed my old self. That's how
that sounded like a lie.
Yeah.
Because she's like, who was the third person?
Let me see if I can figure it out.
I took that as Sejanus' hanging was... He was responsible for it, therefore he considers that he murdered him. You know what I mean?
How do you spell Coriolanus?
So Coriolanus.
I just went for it. What are the 3 people killed in the snow games? 1 did Snow kill Lucy? Oh.
I don't think we have time for this.
Yeah, just keep talking about it because I think this article will be.
So throughout this, Snow is kind of torn. He has been exiled, but he is given an opportunity to rise back through the ranks and potentially get back to the capital someday, where he does still have his cousin and his grandma, who were relying on him.
So I think it is what you said. He considers Sejanus him killing him, basically.
So, but also he's torn because he's with Lucy Gray, and he's fallen in love, and he wants to be with her in that idealistic life. I do think it is interesting that when he's given the opportunity to leave, and he takes it.
Yeah.
Or seemingly takes it. And then later on, he tells Lucy about it, but at a time when all the other S has gone down. She's like, you were going to leave me?
Yeah.
And he doesn't really even answer it. Like, I don't think he ever really thought about her.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah.
So, he's, like we've said, trying to get Sejanus to knock it off with
the rebels.
With the rebels. But then on one of those nights, he finds him working with them with all these guns. And you have the other people from District 12 who he's been working with. Girl gets killed, guy gets killed. So he's involved now.
Yeah.
And this looks really bad for him.
So how wild. I mean, he just kills the woman and the mayor's daughter in cold blood.
Yeah. And so now there's a big manhunt looking for these people. And that other guy gets found out.
Yep.
And then eventually Sejanus also gets found out because of the Mockingjay. Snow records him, turns him in.
Yeah. Then there's the hanging. They hang that guy and they hang Sejanus.
So I think Snow definitely does have a lot of guilt.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't know that he was going to get hung until that scene by the way he reacts to seeing him.
Yeah.
So, of course, he feels terrible. And then him and Lucy are like, we got to make a run for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I thought all the music concert scenes were kind of cool.
Yeah.
They were fun. Yeah. Shot well. Cool set production design. Felt very lived in.
Yeah, I agree.
The whole production design in this movie was great. Fantastic. Yeah. And so they're running away. And then he makes the comment about the 3 deaths.
Mm-hmm. They go to the cabin where he discovers the guns.
And I see why he would want to cover up, because I was trying to figure out why would he cover up the regret of the death, because he doesn't want to tell her that he turned him into the Capitol.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
So they are running away together because of all that's happened. He's like, there's no way I can get back my old life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run away with Lucy Gray. They go to that cabin where he finds the guns that were used to kill the other 2 people.
And she's like, oh, well, you can, like, that's your last loose end.
Yeah.
Except for her.
See, this is why I also thought that she had something planned, which I think you're supposed to think that.
Oh, by now I'm thinking that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But from the point where she's suspicious of him, like actively, because she's like, who's the third person? From then on, I was like, okay, something is going to happen.
Yeah, that scene, I thought she had something planned.
Okay, before that, did you?
No.
Oh, okay. No, then I'm with you the whole time there. Yeah.
Okay. So she's going to go out to get some Katniss. And he's going to do something about the gun.
Uh-huh.
But as he's doing that, he can't find her. She's nowhere to be found. So he starts trying to go through the woods looking for her. Can't find her, is yelling.
I thought the scene was cool and creepy and weird.
Finds the scarf, his mom's scarf, and picks it up. There's a snake, bites him.
A ballad of snakes.
And songbirds.
Yes.
Gets bit by a snake.
Uh-huh.
And then we see, we think we might see Lucy Gray running through the trees, and he shoots at what it is.
Yeah.
And then what we think is Lucy Gray falls, but by the time he catches up, there's nothing left. There's nothing there besides her earring.
Yeah. So it could be a classic Left Behind situation, or she got away.
Well, her clothes weren't there, so it wasn't.
Ah, yes. And then...
So we don't know if she's dead or if he killed her.
Yeah, that's how it ends, right?
And I like
that relationship.
Yep, that's how it ends. Love that. Love those open-ended things.
And
we never tied up his loose end.
This scene was kind of... It was just funny because I felt like there were a couple of people in the theater that were kind of like,
Yeah.
I was like, weird reaction to this. Like, of all the things to chuckle at, I don't think that this emotional climax of the movie is the one. The beast.
So he makes it. He rises his way back up. He goes back, rises in the ranks, gets back to the Capitol. He takes Sejamus's personal effects with him, back to his life, and he becomes Viola Davis's protege.
Yeah.
And yeah, she basically forgives him for everything because she knows that he turned into James. He's proven his loyalty to the Capitol.
Yep.
Everything he's had in his life is back. So then it's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
He lives in a nice swanky new place with his cousin and grandma. I do love that kind of in the few moments we've had with his family, his grandma is obviously classist.
Yep.
Looks down on people below them. And then in this scene, she's so proud of him. He looks just like his father. Well, I don't know if she says it because then he says, "What do you think, Tigress?" And her performance was so good.
She was awesome.
And she's just looking at him just so scared.
Yeah.
And she says, "I think you look just like your dad." To which it's been established that his dad was a presumably bad person.
Yeah.
Then we learn about the Dinklage thing.
Yep. We find out that
I heard the baby.
I know. That Dinklage is like, I had this idea for a game when I was drunk, and then your dad took it and ran with it, and I never wanted it to really happen. And so he takes it and runs with it, and then Jordan left the room to grab the baby, and so I'm trying to sum up the scene and get through this episode so we don't have to stop it again. And then Snow poisons him, and he dies, and that's kind of a wild scene, seeing that transition and understanding that relationship between the father and him. And then, hi, Talia, hi. And then the movie ends, and he has kind of become who he will be.
Well, this is the best. This is not the best, but this. So that happens with Dinklage. Then he's in like the downtown area where there's this giant statue of like a woman with swords.
Yeah,
which is like the symbol of the Capitol.
Yeah,
and he walks up to it. And he's staring up at it, and I'm like, you better end this freaking movie on that man's face, but like a really, really tight close up.
Oh yeah.
Of his
Okay.
face.
Yeah.
And they did, and it just felt so good.
Yeah. And I think it was kind of great.
Yeah,
it was a really
like
good movie. Yeah. So I'd say go see it. I think we've covered everything about it. We should probably go. I have a show on December 8th at Anchor Valley Wine. It's from 6 to 8. At 6, we're doing Christmas carols. Around 7, we'll be doing A Beautiful Divorce. Come to the show. It's in Jacksonville. Other than that, sign up for Patreon. Listen to our episode on Ghost Rider. Anything for you, Jordan?
May the odds for forever or ever be in your favor.
Adios.